G'day, legends. It's Jai, that Aussie Metal Guy here with CRANK.com. Today, tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's a great pleasure that I get to have a chat with Johannes of Avatar. These guys are heading back to Australia and New Zealand in 2026 for a comprehensive tour, so I get to catch you in Adelaide, taking on Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and New Zealand as well, returning with their 10th studio album, Don't Go in the Forest. We're all going to head back into the forest. Johannes, thank you so much for joining me, mate.
Thank you for having me.
Mate, this is an absolute pleasure, mate. I missed you last time you're here. I know you guys are pretty excited to get about getting back down under. Tell me how you
Yeah.
feel about inviting everyone into the forest in Australia with this album.
See, the first time to play anywhere is always the hardest to get your foot in the door. And one of those places where that foot just wouldn't get in the door for the longest time has been Australia. And we fixed that. And that whole experience, everything about it was great. It was just three shows. So I'm glad we're adding a bit every time now. So we're slowly starting to, well, just keep our first theme. I guess we plant seeds all across Australia, little by little. And no, it was just so great last time, and I'm ready for more of it, and I'm ready for to do it even better because last time there was a novelty of it, at least to us Avatar in Australia. Who would have thought? Now now we've done that. Now we know we can do it. So now we have to just ramp it up and ramp it up and ramp it up in terms of what we bring to the table. No, I look forward to a lot. I also last time it was just a great experience as far as what you hope to do as a, Swede coming to Australia for the first time. The sun was shining. Your winters are not like our winters. We held a koala, saw a bunch of kangaroos, and did not encounter a single spider. So everything you hope for.
Yeah, it's not as bad on the old spider front as people say. I was chatting to a few bands that are touring, and that's one thing that comes up. Avatar, I've been following you
Yeah.
guys for fucking about 12, 13 years. And one thing I really love about you guys is that it does kind of separate from you, but each album kind of feels like, it has its own world, the music, the
Oh, thank you.
visuals,
Yeah.
the lyrics, the clothes, the stage show. It all seems
hmm
connected like it could come straight out of a movie or the theater. Do you see the Avatar albums as records first or as worlds that these songs can live in?
Actually, records first. It's like because when the with the visual, with how it all comes together at the end, it's such an important aspect of the band. I think there's also a bit of a risk that you could, uh, start building things in reverse and therefore lose focus on the music
Yep.
and therefore kind of risk phoning it in or not really, I don't even know how to put it. It's just that the music creating part
Yep.
is holy and the music guides everything else. And then of course, but then it could sometimes it's been like you have two notes and boom, there it is. And then you start filling in. Or it's an entire album and it's like, so what did we do? But you just have to start with the music and then everything else grows out of that. So so for that reason, it's all about the music, man, until
Yeah.
it isn't, because then we add all that cool stuff. And once we get to that point, that creating when we put together what we want to wear, if that gets once we're there, gets the same love and attention and just uh, is allowed to be a creative outlet in its own right, um, then that becomes something great and exciting and something we love diving into as well. Same with the music video, same with the stage show and everything. But first you have to hear some riffs.
Yes.
It's heavy metal. Like it's just sit down with your guitar and start chugging away and see what because that's also a way to measure quality of music for me. If I really like more often than not, music that clicks for me. I don't have the synesthesia thing, what it was called, when people see colors and numbers connected to music. But I have a vivid imagination enough that with if it sounds right, like it plays a little movie in my head, song by song, like Captain Goat was a very wet riff to me, when I heard it. And I saw big waves, and then that feeds into the lyrics. Hail the apocalypse, I saw a doomsday prophet standing on the street, counting down as the bombs are raining down, and that so there the lyrics came from that. So you have all those, you know, when music is done right, the way I process it, I visualize things with it.
Yeah, it always has these really strong hooks in your music. I was actually playing Hail the
Thank you.
Apocalypse and Like Napalm because they were some of the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
albums I heard of you guys, dude. And
Hmm.
from that moment, you've always had this hooks in your song, the music from that first night when you first put on an Avatar song. I did it for someone I hadn't heard you guys, and then immediately they were like bouncing their head. It's something
That's
that you
great.
guys have always had where you can be crushingly heavy, but there's always this movement in it where the riffs hit hard, the songs have groove, you get swing and you kind of get stuck in that body. And with your lyrics and your vocals, the way you can go from just these really deeps to these
Mhm.
really high melodies. It's just insane to see and to hear.
Well, thank you for all that. Yeah, I mean, to say something about what you just said, I guess one thing, I don't know, Cryptopsy and Beatles are both very important to what defines Avatar, I guess, and what we grew up with, and what it has influenced the band. And I think it's also important to us, uh, to what kind of ideas end up on an Avatar album is, if it's sometimes it's rooted very much in very extreme music, and sometimes it might be rooted in something, a musical concept that maybe starts totally out there, out of left field, some neat little avant-garde thing in jazz I learned about or whatever. But we always then, at the end of the day, the way we put things together, I need a chorus in there, I need a hook in there, I
Yeah.
need something to connect and hope, there's something to be said about music that keeps on growing on you for after 10 or 100 listens. I want that, I strive towards that. But if I don't have you on the first as well, then I don't think I've done my job right. I think because ultimately the kind of metal we do is rock and roll. It's
Yeah.
dance music. Let's twist again. So to find where those worlds meet, I guess is when, people start bobbing their head at the first listen,
Yeah, it's funny
like
you
you said.
mentioned that because when I first heard you guys, like it's metal, of course, but I also like true comparisons to the old rock, like AC/DC, old school AC/DC
Hmm.
and stuff
Hmm.
like that with your vocals and the way you do it. I know it's random as heck, man, but it's cool. And I did pick up all those
Thank
rock
you.
things as well in that too.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
you go.
No, no, yeah, exactly. Like, rock and roll is very important to us. And again, because it's still funny, like, because we started learning to play as a band, what we were figuring out in those early days were death metal stuff mostly. And s- that informed, for instance, the tuning and the guitars, and like just the tool of our trade when writing and performing the music is, you know, it's a tune since for it was a C standard forever. And then nowadays, since maybe Black Waltz, I guess it's B standard is the most common tuning we use. Then there are some open tunings here or there, and now sometimes drop bass. Like we play around with it a little bit, but at the center of things is this B standard tuning, which of course just has ended up the guitars we build for ourselves, like the guys' guitars, and then I get one that's kind of like that. So I write music for when I write riffs, I want it to be, in the style of Avatar. Uh, but just it's an extreme metal guitar that would then pick up and play Beatles on or whatever.
Yeah.
So the extreme and the melodic and how it's, built into each other, and the very foundation of what we're doing in that sense.
Yeah, I loved seeing a couple of other interviews where you kind of mentioned that it's like a little mix of Beethoven, Halloween, and the Beatles as well. And
Yeah, exactly. And everything is allowed because then the big filter is that we can only sound like ourselves.
Well,
That's
you
all we
do it in
got.
such a beautifully dark way. Like speaking of the new album, songs like "Dead and Gone" and "Back Again," and even one that I
Mm.
like connected with the dirt I'm buried in. It's weird, but I'd like play that some mornings when I go in for a chemo session back in 2023 when I was battling that shit. You
Oh,
do it in such a
you're doing better
beautifully
now?
Oh, I'm in remission now, man, but you do it in
I'm
such a
glad to hear it,
beautifully
man. Good.
dark way that you kind of connect to these
Yeah.
songs. And they're really quite uplifting. If you listen to them, you do tackle these dark themes, but they are quite uplifting in points too, in the way you deal with them.
That I've come to that exactly. I come to thank you. I come to realize that uh even when we're not try don't try to, I think a lot of the what people when I'm being told what they get out of what we do, the uplifting side of it. And because in my mind, I always think a lot of what we do is to enter those dark territories, right? But not necessarily, but we kind of enter the dark rooms in our mind with a stick in our hands, like so it so it makes sense to me like that it becomes uplifting in a shitty situation for people because number one, I think our music acknowledges shit,
Yes.
but it comes in often with some either playfulness, you know, and you have fun with it, you play with the concepts to some degree, which is again rooted in death metal in a way because Cannibal Corpse is funny, uh, or it's that, sing about this because it's pissing me off and here, I'm ready for battle. So you have, those and so those the dark and the light, I guess, meets in that sense.
Exactly,
We're not a good doom metal band, for instance.
No, mate, that's for sure. Before I let you go, for all the Australian, New Zealand Avatar fans getting ready for this tour, for those about to step into the world of Avatar, what do you have to say to them, mate?
I just look forward so much to come back to Australia. Like I'm sure I touched on how it was bliss last time. Everything went exactly as I hoped for it. And this time we'll just have more of not the same. We have to outdo ourselves, and I'm sure we will. But just more Australia this time. And adding New Zealand on top of it for the first time, which is breaking completely new ground as far as we are concerned. So
You're gonna love New
it's
Zealand.
a
It's
good time
beautiful,
all around.
beautiful over
Yeah,
there in New Zealand.
I'm not allowed to stay because my wife has like a Lorien leaf tattooed here.
Yeah,
So I can go to Middle Earth to play a show, but I'm flying straight home because if I'm gonna spend time in New Zealand, she's gonna be with me,
that's
which
it.
I
Yeah.
also look forward to. We couldn't make it happen this time, but we will. I will spend some real time on New Zealand soon enough.
Yeah, yeah. Next time, mate, you got to do it. Johannes, thank you so much for taking the time, mate.
Thank
Everyone
you.
watching, buy these tickets, sell this fucker out. We're all going into the forest. Tickets are on sale now through Phoenix AU. Cheers, mate. Have an awesome one. Thank you very much. I'll catch
Thank
you in
you.
Adelaide.
Thank you for your
Cheers, mate.
time.
Thank you.
See you soon.